Hey guys, have you ever traveled to South America, Argentina and Chile in particular? We just returned from such a trip, and in this video I would love to share our itinerary and share some advices with you on where to go, where to stay, and what to do in these two wonderful countries. If you ever plan on traveling to Argentina or Chile and you love spending your time outdoors and being active and all that stuff, I suggest you save this video so then you have later access to all my tips that I'm sharing with you right now. If you've never been to my channel, my name is Polina and I welcome you here. Now I would love to walk you through the short version of our itinerary. So we went to Buenos Aires first, and from Buenos Aires we went to Argentina and Patagonia. We went to the city called El Calafate, which is next to Perito Morena Glacier. And from there we drove to Chile, so we crossed the border by land and we stayed in Chilean Patagonia for another like 4 or 5 days. From there we flew to Santiago and we went to a city called Valparaiso, which is on the coast of Chile. And from there we went to Temuco and we went to Pucon, which is more like in the middle part of Chile and it's more like jungly vibe. And after that we returned to Buenos Aires, and from there we flew to Europe, so we were done with our trip. I'm not going to recount our trip chronologically, but I will rather rank all these places based on my personal preference. So I will start with the places that I liked the most and give those recommendations first. My absolute favorite from this trip of ours was Chilean Patagonia. It was amazing, amazing, amazing. We have seen views that were just so marvelous that it was absolutely breathtaking. I can't even fully describe it to you unless you see it in person. I will of course insert little videos here and there of how it looked like, but it was just absolutely, absolutely stunning. We stayed in this very peculiar hotel called the Singular, and I think there are 2 of them in Chile in total. We also stayed with them in Santiago. But in Patagonia, what they did is they took an old refrigeration factory and they turned it into this really cool hotel. They preserved the old building of the factory, but then they of course built like all the living quarters, and they turned the main space into this massive restaurant with 3 stories. And then they even have like a little funicular. Instead of an elevator, they have a funicular, which is going from the lobby to the reception. And yeah, like, it's really cool. The first impression when you're approaching the hotel is really odd. It looks like a very strange place, but once you enter the hotel, it is so cool how they renovated it, and how they weren't even renovating it much actually. They pretty much preserved everything that was already there, so they kept it intact. And then they built these like passageways through the old factory, so then you can still see how everything was working. So that hotel, the Singular, it's located next to Puerto Natales in Patagonia. And from there you can drive to this gorgeous national park. It's called Torres del Paine, and it's like an 1.5-hour drive from the hotel. And over there you can hike and it's absolutely gorgeous. The only thing is the wind is freaking crazy. I have never experienced such wind in my life. It was absolutely crazy. Like, I can't even emphasize it enough. We were being blown away as we were hiking. Like, we couldn't wear caps, we couldn't wear anything that could potentially fall off. Every time I wanted to take a video or a photo, I had to like hold onto my phone with both of my hands, because I was like, no, I cannot afford to like lose it and let it like fly away. It was absolutely crazy. We even had a situation when we ascended to like a top of like a nearby mountain, not even in the park, but like near the hotel. And my little brother, he's 11 and he's much lighter than the rest of us. And the wind was really strong in the top. I think it was like more than 100 kilometers per hour. It was like absolutely nuts. All of us had to get down on our knees because the wind was so strong. We were afraid it was gonna blow us off the top of the mountain. And there was like a cliff, so it was not a safe situation by any means. But my brother apparently got super scared, so my dad had to grab onto him because obviously he's much lighter than the rest of us. And then we had to get out of there as soon as possible because it was not safe. And then I noticed that my brother got super scared, and he was just like, he had the shock of his life because he legit thought that he was gonna fly away. Due to that reason, we couldn't even do some of the hikes we really wanted to because the guides told us that it was not safe. The good thing about the Singular, if you ever stay there, is that they organize all the tours, all the hikes. They have their guides in-house. So then you arrive at the hotel and you meet with the event planner, and then they pretty much assemble your schedule for you for the remainder of your trip. We also saw a super cool cave called the Milodon Cave. It is absolutely enormous, a giant cave. We also went on a boat tour through the glaciers. It was really beautiful, but we did not like it as much because it was more passive, like we were just sitting on a boat. But when we went hiking, it was more active, so my family prefers that. But if you want something more chill, there are boat tours, there's also horseback riding, you can go biking, even though I can imagine that biking would be a little difficult because of the wind. But honestly, I would return there in a heartbeat. So if you are planning your next trip, I highly recommend Patagonia in Chile. Absolutely wonderful. Make sure to go during the summer in South America. If you end up going during winter, which is our summer, you can go skiing, you can go ski touring, you can do a lot of cool things in the snow, but I imagine you're not gonna go hiking as much because it's gonna be winter. I also recommend you come prepared to a trip like this. You have to have gloves, you have to have beanies, scarves, you have to wear a lot of layers, because the thing is, as you're hiking up, the wind is crazy, so you will be constantly feeling hot and cold at the same time. So we kept removing the layers, putting on layers. It was just a lot of changing clothes. The second place I really enjoyed is also located in Chile. It's called Pucon, and you have to fly to Temuco. We flew there from Santiago, and then we drove for 2 hours. There we stayed at this place called Vira Vira, and it is managed by And Beyond. I haven't stayed at their other locations, but they're a very sustainable lodge, and it's really nice. It's very small, very petite place, very cozy, and their food was absolutely delicious. So we really enjoyed staying there. They also organize a lot of different hikes and kayaking and rafting and a lot of different activities for their guests. But it's definitely more jungly, almost like tropical vibe, because in Patagonia it was more like mountain vibe with a lot of valleys and there's like not that many trees. But here it was like fully summer. There were a lot of insects, and we went on a jungle hike to see all these different waterfalls. So that was really cool. But my favorite from that stay, we went kayaking, we went rafting, which was super fun. And then we ascended this really cool volcano called Villarrica, and there was a lot of snow, so we had to have a lot of gear. My backpack weighed like 10 kilograms and it was really hard to carry it all the way up because the hike took, I think, around 6 hours in total. And they thought we would need to wear crampons, but the snow was melting, so we could just go without them. But then the most fun part happened once we reached the top and started our descent. It was so cool. We could just slide down and we didn't have to hike down, which was, thank God we didn't have to, because my legs were really tired. But we could slide down and it was so fun. It was super fast. And of course we were going with a lot of caution at the same time. We had an ice axe and we were braking with it. So we weren't gaining any crazy speed or anything, but we still could descend much faster than we ascended. We couldn't reach all the way to the top because the government prohibits it because it's not safe. And we had to wear helmets and we had to wear all these different protections. So we were safe, thankfully. But this hike definitely stood out to me. It was really special. The third place that I really enjoyed was Buenos Aires. I liked the city, not from the start, but I grew to like it over the few days that we spent there. I think the place that I liked the most in Buenos Aires, as weird as it might sound, was a cemetery. Yes, there is a very famous cemetery. It's called Recoleta Cemetery, and everybody visits it because it's like a special place in Buenos Aires. What's special about it is there are a lot of tombs like family tombs, and all these famous families, all these renowned families invited all these different architects to build their tombs. So the cemetery is not filled with graves, but rather tombs, all of which are quite sophisticated, I have to say. And there are like thousands of them. So once you arrive at the cemetery, you're walking through these like narrow streets among the tombs, and you're looking at all these tombs. And apparently there are even like 6-hour tours around this cemetery. We didn't do that one because 6 hours at a cemetery is like a bit too much, but we did spend 30 minutes walking through it, and it was really cool, like, to see all these tombs. I know I sound so weird at the moment, but you have to visit it and to make up your own mind what you think about it. But I think it was very peculiar and quite interesting. Then we went on a bike tour around the city. In terms of where we stayed at 2 places because we ended up coming to Buenos Aires twice. So the first time around we stayed at Park Hyatt, and part of the hotel is located in an old mansion. All these mansions were built when Argentina used to be a very wealthy country in the 20th century. And a lot of them got repurposed, some of them got abandoned, but those are really beautiful mansions. So it was a pleasure staying there. The second time around, we stayed at Four Seasons. And I think I liked the second hotel better just because it had more amenities, it had multiple restaurants. The first one did as well, but the first one was more like petite. But both of them are really great to stay at. Like, you cannot go wrong with either one. We also went to see a tango show at this hotel called Faena. It was really, really cool. The way they dance is just very gorgeous, and it's actually, I've never really watched tango shows before, but the way they're moving their legs, their knees, it's really peculiar, and they're moving so fast that I don't even know how they're like managing to do all of it. If you want to walk around Buenos Aires, I recommend a neighborhood called Palermo de Chico. It's really nice. There are a lot of embassies there. It's very quiet, very cute neighborhood. So all the houses and all the gardens are well maintained, and yeah, it's a pleasure to walk through there. You can also go to Malba, which is the Museum of Contemporary Latin American Art. We went there for coffee. It had a really cute coffee shop, and then we continued on our bike tour. You also have to see the widest avenue. Everybody goes there, everybody talks about it. We kept hearing about it all the time that we were in Buenos Aires. And also, whenever you travel to Argentina, you have to pay close attention to the currency exchange rate, because apparently it varies greatly. It varies from 150 pesos per dollar to like 320 pesos per dollar. So you can buy something twice as expensive or twice as cheap. So you have to like watch out. The next place, which is number 4 on my list, is El Calafate in Argentina. It is also in Patagonia. I think it's a cool place, but I don't think we did the best activities there, so we did not enjoy it as much. We also did not like our accommodation. We stayed at this hotel called Xelena, but you have to like book everything in Patagonia well in advance because it's being filled pretty fast. And especially if you're going over some major holidays, make sure to be on top of your planning. In El Calafate, we went kayaking, we went hiking. The hike was absolutely awful because we went hiking next to El Calafate itself. There were no views, the wind was crazy, and we just got really exhausted for nothing. We did not like it much at all. But then we went to see this glacier called Perito Morena. It was very gorgeous. We went to see it from all the viewpoints and walked around a little bit. We did not go hiking on the glacier, but I think we should have done that. We also rented our own boat and we went to see the glacier from the boat as well. So that was quite enjoyable. I liked the glacier. I overall love winter and everything winter related. So glacier and ice and everything makes me happy. We also went kayaking in this like freezing cold water. So we had to wear this like skirt that attaches you to the kayak, and it was really terrifying because I was like, what if I flip over and I'm like drowning and I'm stuck in the kayak? But I mean, they obviously gave us like the briefing and they were like, okay, this is how you get out. So that made me a little bit less scared, but still. One recommendation I have for El Calafate, if you ever end up coming there, a really great restaurant is Mako. We went there multiple nights in a row because we really liked it. But overall, I hate to say it, but I did not like food much in Argentina. Whether it was in Buenos Aires or in El Calafate, did not enjoy the food much. Yeah. The last place that I want to talk about that I actually did not like much, maybe your experience will be different or was different, so please mention it in the comments below, but I did not like Santiago much. I think I did not enjoy it as much because it seemed very vandalized and I did not feel as safe there. You can see graffitis on every single wall in Santiago, and even when we arrived, it was like at 5 a.m. because we had a night flight from Patagonia. We were coming to the hotel at 5 a.m. And can you imagine, like the hotel, like the doors of the hotel, they were closed with this like metal gate that like rolls down to prevent the storefronts from being broken into. So that was really odd because the entire hotel like was very dark and it was 5 a.m. and there was like this metal gate, so we couldn't even see where the entrance was because it was completely blocked off. So we were like, oh my god, how did we get in? So that was a really odd first impression. It felt like the city's going through some unsafe phase. I don't know, I had this uneasy feeling when we were there. Like that kind of spoiled my experience, to be completely honest. We also went to Valparaíso, which is 2-hour drive or like an hour and a half drive from Santiago. And Valparaíso left the same impression on me because there were graffitis everywhere. There are neighborhoods in Valparaíso which are absolutely worth seeing. They are protected by UNESCO. There are like a lot of colorful houses and those are covered in actually beautiful art. And it looks very hipster, it looks very funky. And yeah, like that part of Valparaíso is super cool. But the rest, I don't know. Like again, I just did not feel safe. I felt like people tend to vandalize the property. And I think a lot of it is happening due to like the social turmoil that the country has been going through since like 2018. So I don't know. I kind of couldn't wait to keep traveling and get out of Santiago. Yeah. Please let me know if you had a different experience. But at the moment, I cannot recommend it as one of my favorite cities. Well guys, this is it. That's the narration of our trip. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you get to travel to Argentina and Chile soon. And I hope you really enjoy all your future travels. Thank you so much for being here with me. Enjoy your day and I will see you in my next video. Bye.